Hi everyone, it's a beautiful sunny day here, yet I took the time to lock myself in this dungeon here to show you one of my favorite moves. Now, I'm actually not sure if I've ever used this move in a real fight, maybe just once or twice, but in sparring, it's one of my signatures, and against a bag, it's also one of my best techniques. And this move is actually probably one of the more difficult techniques to get good at, to get real power out of, so that you can use it as a weapon. This skill being the brother to my last tutorial. This is the front leg roundhouse kick. Very difficult. Many people probably skip it and avoid it. There's a lot of different ways that you can get power into your front leg kick, but I want to show you it from completely standing, which most people don't do, and understandably so. It's a lot harder to generate power and get your leg out with no momentum steps. Now in fighting, everything is in motion, so it won't actually be as difficult, but if you can master this kick from standing, it means when you're in motion, it'll hit harder, and you'll be just better versed overall with how the technique works. So I'll show you it from both sides here, just to show you kind of how I do it, see if you can trust my word for technique giving, and then I'll tell you how I get my power into it. Alright, now that you've got a visual understanding, let me get into my brain processes for how I throw this kick. For starts and to help, I will say this as a prerequisite. Of course, nothing is necessarily mandatory as a prerequisite, but if you know how to throw a good roundhouse kick with your back leg, the much more conventional method, obviously it'll help you when you do a more difficult technique like your front leg. So, for starts, master your rear leg roundhouse. I just made a tutorial on it. Check somewhere down below in the description. I'll make a link to it. Now, the difference between the two of them is just the starting position, really. You can get your hips into it much easier when it's the back leg. You just turn through, but when you're at the front leg, that's where a lot of people have trouble because there's no wind up. Now, very quickly I want to go over these things, but then I want to forget them completely, intentionally. So, to get power in this front leg, let me just tilt this camera down, because I want to guarantee that you can see my feet. You probably don't need to see the ceiling. So, to get power in the front leg, there's two good techniques I could drop for you. One, just step closer with your back foot, and then your forward foot moving to reset, you can throw a kick with. It's a good way to get a, sometimes your roundhouse shot is better from the left side or the right side, and this is how you can just like vary based on any positioning, so you get the perfect roundhouse kick, which is the goal, to land a roundhouse kick. That's the only goal in all of fighting, is to roundhouse kick people. Everyone knows this. Also, one of the more famous methods is called a switch kick, which is its own tutorial, its own move, so I just want to show you it and then forget it. It's basically a way to quickly get your front leg in the back. Now, I particularly have mastered the art of the standing roundhouse with the front leg. And like I said, most people have a lot of trouble with this. So let me tell you how I do it. Well, actually, showing you guys the switch kick will help me explain it. Because in a sense, you kind of are doing a switch kick anytime you throw it with your front leg. So you know, I'm just going to break it down slowly as a beginner might experience it to see how I could help you. Start with that. Just start by picking up the leg and just turn a little bit over with your hips just so you get the base kick motion down. Up, turn your hips towards your open side. Just extend your leg. Anybody can throw a kick like this, I think. Not super clean, not super hard, but undeniably a foundation. So really that's just the main magic of it. It's the same base as a rear leg roundhouse. You just turn your hips, get overturned at the top, use your arms to generate a little bit of power, but also stay protected if you're in a real fight. Now, how to get actual power in this kick, that's the real technique points, because anybody can do this, but who's gonna ever want to throw that in a fight when they know anything can shrug it off, you know? You want to really sting it. Don't want to take a lot of those. This is a technique great for really chopping up your opponent's legs, but me particularly, I practiced this enough such that I could, in a sense, maybe viably throw it to the head, and that's why I think it would be so good, because no one would ever throw this shot to the head, because it's usually weak, and the flexibility to get up high is very difficult. I explain a lot about this, but I feel I haven't gotten much into the technique, so I'm going to try to do that now. So, to get power into it, I'm glad I mentioned the switch kick earlier. You basically do a switch kick, but just with your hips, not with your feet. So when you do a switch kick, you just, there's different techniques for how to switch, but in essence it's something like that, right? So when I throw this kick, I want to turn my hips backwards the opposite way, like I'm switching my feet, but not switching my feet. Now this lets me get reverse power, kind of like if you want to throw a hook, you would turn to the opposite side so you can boom, unwind it. Basically the same thing here. Just a back turn a little bit with the hips. Now this gets me a little bit of distance away from the target with my leg, because it's hard to like throw a good technique when you're this close to it. You know, there's not a lot of space. Like there's no space to generate speed. So when you tuck your hip back into your closed side, it opens you up to reset that same hip positioning, right? Pay attention here. Is to turn away. That gets you just that little bit of extra distance that you really need to get the power. So I'm literally switching my hips back and undoing it. That's the hip motion for a good front leg roundhouse kick. You want to just get your hips back and as fluidly as you can, create a whip you smash into this thing with. It's like, once you start throwing it, that's all basic roundhouse technique from there. Timing, turn your hips over, extend your leg. But I feel it's that little hip change that makes all the difference. I'm going to throw it to my bad side. My left side in the front is very, very fast and strong. One of my best techniques, but my right leg has been catching up, so I want to check on that. Just run through the technique with my bad side just to see how y'all would feel. So a little turn away, let it rip straight through. And I do recommend that you only throw this low kicks into the body for a very, very, very long time before you start trying to arc it all the way up. It's about speed more than anything. As you set it back and then one quick snap to try to get everything whipping that target. Also, it might help you a bit if you lean back a little bit when you throw the kick. That would make it easier to get height, and also just the mechanics of it. It does get your leg moving in a sense, like you bend over, your leg has to come up. So throw the kick in there, you're out of the way, throwing higher than you maybe can really, and still getting decent power. I know you guys only just saw a tiny bit of it, but I accidentally just somehow managed to kick my middle finger while doing that. That really hurt. So I recommend you keep your hands up, or at least doing something useful such that you're not kicking yourself. I don't know how often that happens, but hey, apparently it does. So that's pretty much most of the technique for how to do the kick, honestly, how to get good power into it. It's really just a lot of people don't know how to utilize their hips. They're just like, why isn't this working? Like, because you're not getting any rotation. Rotation is the key to force. So, okay. I don't want to skip this point. Turn on your back foot. That's the best way to do it. If you are struggling with this, maybe just think about that. If you think about really pivoting that back foot so you're turned away, I mean, that really opens it up for you, makes it a lot easier. You could even do it almost standing like that. So combine that with the hip back, and then you turn your foot as you reset. That is what I'm going for to teach here. Get that pinnacle power. Back turn, unchamber, turn the foot. Also, for more advanced peeps, you could even do a tiny jump into it. But that is pretty advanced, and if you're having trouble with this kick, I don't see how jumping would help. This is also a lot of fun for rapid kick combos. That's how I just kick myself in the hand, but I do want to show you that one of each side. Just rapid shots with the front leg kick. Normally people do this with switch kicks or just with their back leg, but it's nice to practice everything. Alright y'all, this was a quick tutorial because it's a pretty simple move. Difficult, takes a lot of practice and body mechanics. So start practicing this one as soon as possible because it takes time to master it and develop it into a true weapon. That being said, it's not too bad. So hope you all enjoy the process of learning, getting stronger. If you do, man, how can you hate life? Peace out, guys.